So in 1972, I'm a senior in high school, and it's time for the next step, time for me to go to college. Now, there was this thing called the draft, and everybody that turned 18 had to register for the draft, so I went down to the local office and I registered and I get my little draft card. Now, the way you got your draft number was really interesting because on television, they'd have this old guy with this little cage of 366 balls, an extra one for leap year, and he would pull one by one, starting at January 1st, going all the way to December 31st, 366 days, and everybody got a draft number. So he said, oh, first number one, and he spins his little ball, and January 1st draft number is 24. And you can hear the guy at home go, oh, that's 24, okay, that's not bad, that's pretty good, I guess, I don't know about that. And he'd spin it again, January 2, pull out a number 302. So it gets to my birthday in May, and I can hardly contain myself. So he rolls it, he picks up the ping pong ball and says, 311!
Yes, 311!
I mean, yes, 311, good, I've got my civic duty, yes, I understand. 311, do you know what this means? They'll draft lunatics and farm animals before they get to me. But still, there was this question of where I was going to go to university. Now, Pete Stone and his wife Ann lived around the corner from my parents. Pete had worked at WVLD and was working with me at WNEX. And so one day he says to me, you know, well, why don't you go to Valdosta State College? And I said, well, I'd kind of like to go to Georgia. So I applied to the University of Georgia in their broadcast department, and they looked at my transcripts and said, no, that ain't gonna happen. So Valdosta it was, and I was on my way to work at WVLD with some great people, some unbelievable talent. Pete happened to have been the program director down there before, and so he knew everybody. And as I met Bob Harrison, who's amazing, and Jeff Morgan and Wayne Hagan, and all of these great folks, it just seemed to be the perfect place for me, and I really fell in love with it. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And thankfully, it all worked out that way because what a great experience. And the reason Valdosta is important is because of the draft, they have this thing called the college deferment, which meant if you weren't going to college, chances are you got drafted a lot quicker. And I found it rather interesting that suddenly the government decided to drop the drinking age from 21 to 18 when they started drafting 18-year-olds because, hey, if we're going to take them out and try to kill them, we may as well let them drink. They were only 2 years in Valdosta for me at WVLD. They were 2 amazing years. I learned a lot in just a very short time, not only because of the people I was working with, but what was important was kind of the attitude was different because you were in a different market. Instead of being in Macon where you're worried about Atlanta and surrounding communities, you're down almost in Florida, where you're worried more about Tallahassee and Jacksonville and what are they doing and how does this affect what we're doing. It was a competitive radio market, and it was fun to be with the #1 station. I was grateful to have spent a lot of time at Pete and Ann's house, and he really was instrumental in getting me to Valdosta. I'll never forget when we were working at the Big X. I said, you know, what does the station of Valdosta sound like? And he played me an air check.
Wonderful WVLD.
The Lowndes High School Viking Band starts rehearsal this Monday, August 10th at 5 p.m. at Lowndes High School. Band members, take heed. This is Diana Ross. Ain't no mountain high enough.
When I heard Pete's tape, I said, yep, that's it. That's where I need to go. And it was also great that they had this college down there. And it was a great atmosphere to me to be in. You know, it was warm all the time. I love warm weather, and the people were friendly, and the radio station experience couldn't be beat. You had Bob Harrison, Wayne Hagan, who was Jeff Morgan. Jim Jennings was the program director my first year, and then Bob moved up to program director the second year. And they just kept pushing the envelope, and the station was tight, and it sounded great, and people responded to what we did. I remember one night, okay, if I can remember, it was Walt Taylor, Phil Phillips, Bill Tullis, the epic Bill Tullis from Atlanta. He was down doing the college station. More on that later. Bob Harrison, Wayne Hagan, Jeff Morgan, and myself doing a Reddick car commercial.
The North Pole, home of you-know-who. And speaking of that jolly old fat man...
Hello there, young fella.
You ever heard of Southern Elk? I so miss his laugh. It was all done live. We must have done 20 takes of this. The client loved it. We loved to do it, and we got an outtake tape you wouldn't believe. Pete Stone was absolutely right, but one thing I didn't expect is when I got there, Jim Jennings says, you know, you're going to be Don Stevens. I said, what? And he said, yeah, we have these jingle packages sung by Jams, or Pams, I think it was back then, and they sing extra names, so if we have somebody new come, then you get the next name. And I said, well, that's great. I'm certainly glad that Rebecca Rabinowitz wasn't the next person. One reason I went back to Bill Elder the next year was because I had this unfortunate habit of not answering to Don Stevens when people would see me in public. So, you know, you're on the air, people know you as Don Stevens, and they, hey, Don, I'm walking down the street, Don, hey, Don, and I just keep walking. You know, that guy sounds a lot like Don Stevens, this new Bill guy, and that's amazing. You know, all these disc jockeys sound alike. It's disgusting. On our next visit, 3 sick guys, 2 toilets.